professional left, and I shouldn't call it the professional left, the activists who would deep canvass for Bernie, I feel like they're in a lot of ways motivated by the same kinds of things that would motivate like a Trump activist, economic anxiety, fear that the system is rigged, rage against the machine, but also sort of this Alinsky style, let's set up a straw man of who the enemy is. Mm-hmm. And so they're motivated against the other team. I think what you're saying is that a lot of your young people are motivated by a set of principles. Is that overstating it?
No, I think that's spot on. I think there's something to be learned from Bernie and from Trump and from folks that can set up this David versus Goliath, little guy versus the machine.
Yeah.
There's power in that. And I think that Ron and Rand, they presented that message, maybe not as straw man focused, but the idea that the American
the machine
people,
is real, and raging against it is righteous.
Right. And that the American people are getting screwed, by the banking system, by this military-industrial complex. So I think they just weren't as, what's the word here? They weren't as picturesque that it was very clear, here's the devil and we're the good guy. Mm-hmm. But it was more, these issues help the little man. These issues help everybody. And I think that Bernie, AOC, a lot of people have done a really good job at kind of tapping into that emotion of, we all need to come together to defeat the monster.
Right.
And I think for us, you're right. What the nugget for us was, the monster is things that are antithetical to liberty. And that's what we're trying to go after.
So I was, I spoke on Rand Paul's behalf at the Iowa caucuses. And what I learned that night that I didn't fully appreciate before that was that the Ron Paul block of votes, our assumption going in to Iowa was that that Rand could deliver Ron's votes plus. And it turned out to be the opposite because I think Rand got what I would call the liberty vote, but the rage against the machine, I don't trust Washington, D.C. vote, which was part of Ron's message, went to Trump. And so I think it's an advantage that we actually care about principles. I think it's an advantage that liberty has this beautiful cooperation-based vision for how people can get along. But it's got to be both. It's got to be sort of a libertarian populism. We should be pissed about what Washington is doing to us, but that's not enough. We should be optimistic about how it is that free people create opportunity and make people more prosperous, but that's not enough. It's got to be some combination.
Yeah, and I think that I agree with you when it comes to the liberty vote. We did a lot of number crunching afterwards. You figure Ron got about 22,000 votes in 2012. Our numbers show about 8,000 of those were like hardcore liberty people, but then you still have 14,000 left. And those 14,000, you could say half of them just voted for the craziest SOB in the room. The rage against, some of them probably split for Bernie, which is odd to people, but it makes sense.
To quote Thomas Massey.
Right, the craziest guy on the ballot. And then other people voted, let's say they were hardcore homeschoolers that voted Ron. Well, there were plenty of homeschoolers in the race in 2016.
Yeah.
And so you had some of these other pro-life folks that voted for Ron in 12 that there was kind of segments that split. But I think it goes to show you why I think we need to build at the local level, why we need to kind of lay down these roots, because when you go to run at the national level, it's much more about the sentiment of the country, or it's much more about getting lucky and timing and different things are in place where if you could tell me in 10 years we could elect 500 Ron Pauls to the state house, what are they going to do? They're going to run for higher office. And eventually you're going to end up with people who we can be in the position, not that the establishment's ever going to try to court us, but I think it's just a difficult thing to do to try to ramp up, have enough populism that you're taking the message of liberty, not watering it down, but that the issues of the day will resonate. I mean, if the presidential election was in 2013 or 2014, we could have a President Paul right now.